Hey, this is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. It's Friday, January the 18th. This will be a chart lesson for today, and really, it looked like it was going to be a nice trend day, but it turned out just to be a range day, and really it's the exact same range from yesterday's trading hours. Here's yesterday. Here's the divider line, so you can see everything in here is yesterday. Here's the lows from yesterday. The market opened right in this, actually right in here somewhere. So this is the lows from yesterday, and this is the highs from yesterday. And you can see that was the lows and highs of the day. So it's really a trading range, turned out that way. Generally, even on a trading range day, you'll basically get your range rules or your trend line rules and so forth. But we had this channel here. There was a break, and the market was just too strong. We never came back and retested the lows or anything. So that's why I'm always telling people, although the rules will hold most of the time and work 90% of the time, sometimes they just don't work. And a good clue was how strong this came out of here. And then corrected, and there was one more move up late in the afternoon, and there really was no way to catch this unless you just wanted to jump on board. You might have got on here. This is a breakout pullback, but I wouldn't have entered there. Didn't enter there. I was done kind of early today, to be honest, off of these two trades right here. This trade specifically, I waited on, and it set up perfectly, and it is a kind of a counter trend, more aggressive trade, but I'll explain that to you. But again, you can kind of see this was the range from yesterday during regular trading hours, same range today for including the overnight. So it's just a range day, and we trended down to the low side, tested it, had a little trap down here. You might have traded that on this trap where we went a little bit lower and reversed. But it would be aggressive, and we really never got another good setup. And I was still looking for shorts really all the way up through here, and we just never really got a good setup for that either. And but by the time you get up here and you've traveled this far, then you got to be thinking a measured leg. And there's your leg one. And then there's leg two, and you see we came very close to a measured leg up right there. So it was real close. So anyway, let's talk about the trades. But basically, I would characterize this as a range day. We did trend down from one side down to the low side, and then we trended very strongly to the upside. And but let's talk about each of the trades. Let me back out a little more. And this is where the market opened, right in this area right here. We had a failed second entry long that reversed possible trend line. Regardless, even if you didn't see the trend line, you should have, sorry, I had a slight interruption. You probably won't even notice it. But anyway, we had these highs across here. And we test, it's a failed second entry long. This is kind of the highs of a trading range, and your lows would have been down here. So a chance to get short on the upper side, and instead it just went all the way down, broke out. Notice that it tries to come back, and this is really just a two-legged correction back to the highs. You should have been able to spot this trend down through here. Again, even if you didn't see the trend line yet, this pattern is almost exactly like this pattern. It's the same thing. We just went down, we just dropped down and went into another range, and then look at that little trap right there at the trend line. But even if you didn't have the trend line, you can see that real plainly, and it's the same kind of little bar. Chance to anytime, in case you haven't heard me say that, anytime you see a repeat pattern, a pattern that looks very similar to the way it did, a previous pattern that worked, is probably going to act the same. And you can see this pattern acted exactly the same. It turned down right there. No runners on this one. You did have runners. Actually, there was two chances to enter on this one. You might have considered entering here, but notice how that's a strong bull bar that closed up here. So you don't want to be going short below that one. And by the time you got down here, now you got a little matching lows all across here. So it was really risky. So it was better to wait and just see what happened. No reason to go long, but no reason to really go short right there. And then when you had the trap here on the failed second entry long, just remember when you get a second entry that looks like a good long and it fails, that's a trap most times. And there we go. We take off to the low. And because it was trapped, they didn't have any problem running it right on through. So this was a really good trade. I circled this all the way out because you might have, but hopefully you understand why you don't want to take this trade. If you went short here when it broke lower, you had to drop your limit order way back here, at least halfway into this bar, I would say, before I would risk it. And if you entered anywhere in there, and you kept your stop above the signal bar, and you might have even wanted to keep it above that bar because that's the real high right there, you would have survived. But better to wait. That's what most people do. They're afraid they're going to miss this trade, and you'll miss sometime, but that's just the nature of the game. Better to miss a trade than to get forced into a bad trade, because this is what they do. They trick people a few times, and then finally they run it on. And so don't get tricked. Unless you can help it. I say that like it's really easy to do, but it's not always easy to do. But again, then we got the second entry, or the second trade here. And again, it's just a repeat pattern. It's really a little better and easier to see because you can clearly see the highs and the tick above and then the reversal. And, really because that's a doji, you can go short right there. And that's a nice move down. Again, no runners on this one. They bounced this one back and took the runners, but real easy scalp. And this one goes all the way down. But the good thing was, if you notice here, they didn't get back to get the runners on this one. So if you were still live on this one, your runners were good all the way to here. And now I'll show you this. Really, this pretty much here is leg one of this move down. And so this move down, I was looking for another leg like this one. You put it over here and you can see very close to a measured move. So I was already looking for a reversal right down in this area. And so when you copy this trend line and move it down, and you definitely should have had it by the time you had this pullback, and drag it down, you see we'd overshot, then we got this little reversal bar, a chance to go long right there. And this was a really, really good setup. It is counter trend, so I marked it in green, but for those of you that are, a little more aggressive and a little more advanced in your trading, and another reason I like this is because notice, even though we're trending down, notice how this is a range, then we step down, a range, and then we step down. These are, it's still kind of a rangy type move, and I did have my line down here. That is what I would call the low side of that range. So notice here, that's a failed entry lower, and that's your first real you had a signal bar right here, but notice it never triggered. You did have a doji right here, but I just think it was a little bit too early. It's inside this one. There's your 2-bar match, and you might have considered dropping a limit order right here and getting long right here. It would have gone a couple of ticks against you, but still no problem. It's a good place to get long. But when you saw this break through and then turn up with that reversal bar, and actually I was trying to get long right here, but it never triggered, so I added on again right here, or entered right here, and look at it go. That was an easy, scalped out in just a moment's time, and rode this all the way back up to the top of the channel, and exited right there at the very top, one tick from the top. It doesn't always work out that smoothly, but this one did, and this really made me most of my money today because I loaded up on this trade right here. And don't go try doing that tomorrow live. You sim trade it, but excuse me, don't do it live because sometimes they'll fail, and you don't want to be second guessing. But let me show you something else too. Well, I already showed you that. That's the bottom of the range, and so that was another reason you're looking for a bounce here. And most of the time it'll a lot of people were watching this. It's obvious because it didn't quite get down here to test the lows, and it had to come back again to do it. And then I didn't mark this one because it never really was a good setup. Um, you might have considered dropping your limit order back in here about halfway, but it wouldn't have got filled, and then it went into all this mess. And you sure don't want to be going long in this right here near, because this is not a common type move that you'll see. And most of the time, if you do that, you will lose money. So as bad as I hate to tell you that this is one that you just had to give up, it really is. You might have, you might have got lucky and got in with a limit order down here, but I don't like it, and I think would be a mistake to enter there because most of the time it's going to turn back down and test these lows before it even gets above the EMA, or definitely before it gets out of the channel. And it wouldn't surprise me here to see it break outside the channel and then reverse and have a retest, but the market, for whatever reason, they were buying it. And there was only one other entry. This is a two-legged pullback to the EMA, to the trend line. There's your trend line right off of that. Perfect setup. It's, you got the little one tick trap here. All the reasons that once it broke above here, it took off again, and you're looking for a similar leg like this one. And, obviously you should have been thinking about these highs over here as well, and you can see that's exactly where we got to. And there was a short up here, but this was at 3 o'clock. You don't want to be getting short there, and you see it would have worked real easily too. So but it was really a counter trend trade at that point. But you should have been thinking, when you saw this, you should have been thinking range day too. And then on a range day, that's a failed break higher. And look at that right there. That's one of those where you drop a limit order. Look how far away from the EMA it is. You might have even just dropped it right here. It ticks up a tick or two and reverses, and you're out before it even gets back to the EMA on your scalp part. So I like to do that a lot. Just something to think about, but don't do it live without practicing. I say that, but you should never be trading live at any point until you're consistently profitable. So, and then if you're going to test something new, don't do it live, because you'll just give your money back or start losing money when you've been profitable. Always do your testing on the simulator. And my personal opinion is you never trade live ever until you can do it on the simulator for an extended period of time. Because if you can't make money sim trading, I can tell you without a doubt, you will not make a dime live. You might get a lucky trade here and there, but for the most part, you're going to lose money. And this is just not an easy thing to step into. You hear me say it all the time. If the World Series is going on tomorrow, and the type of pitchers that'll be pitching in the World Series, do you think the average person off the street could step in that batter's box and get a hit tomorrow? No, they got to get practice, they got to get experience, and even then they may not can do it. But they're definitely not going to do it without some experience and some practice and probably some coaching. And trading is no different. You're stepping up into the World Series against the best traders in the world, and you're not going to, the average person is not going to, hardly anybody's going to make any money, much less the average person that doesn't know how to trade. And so keep that in mind, and that's the reason you don't trade with your live money, because you're just asking to give your money to an experienced trader, and it's like taking candy from a baby, and they know it, and they laugh at traders all day long, and they love traders that listen to these gurus that tell them they're going to be able to do this or that, and because they know that all they're doing is setting them up to fail. And I don't want anybody to fail. I want you to learn this the proper way, and I don't want you putting your money on the line until it's time. And until you can make money on the simulator, it's not time. So, sorry, I didn't mean to get on my soapbox about that today, but I like to throw that out there every now and then. And if you ask me personally or in an email, I'll usually give you that answer. So, but this is not easy, and it's not that it's so hard, but you just got to understand the markets. You got to understand how to read a price chart, and it takes experience and time to do that, because prices do not do what is rational. Most traders want to get long right in here when you need to be thinking about getting short, and they want to be getting short down in here when you need to be. Common sense doesn't work in trading. You have to do almost just the opposite of what you think you need to do, and it takes a long time to learn and recognize that. So anyway, that's pretty much it for today. I'm going to wrap it up. I hope everybody had a good trading week. The sun is shining here for the first time in forever. We've had this cold, nasty sleet and rain and ice, and we got a 50-degree day here with sunshine, not a cloud in the sky, and it's Friday. So I'm getting out of here early. Hope you do the same where you're at, and have a great weekend. And we'll see everybody Monday. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.